In the parable of the sower, Jesus spoke of 4 types of ground: the path, the rocky ground, the thorns, and the good soil. Following this parable, his disciples asked him for understanding. Here's what he told them. And he said to them, "Do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word, and these are the ones along the path where the word is sown. When they hear, Satan immediately comes and takes away the word that is sown in them. And these are the ones sown on rocky ground, the ones who, when they hear the word, immediately receive it with joy. And they have no root in themselves, but endure for a while. Then, when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately they fall away. And others are the ones sown among thorns. They are those who hear the word, but the cares of the world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the desires for other things enter in and choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. But those that were sown on the good soil are the ones who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit, 30-fold, and 60-fold, and 100-fold. As mentioned in part 10, I believe this parable is a more detailed explanation of the Garden of Eden and the principle of sowing and reaping. There's much we could say about it, but I would like to just share certain highlights with you and then give you a unique theory you may have never heard. First, and based on Luke's rendition of this parable, we know that the seed that is sown is the Word of God. This agrees with Hebrews 4:12, which says His Word is living and active. Like a natural seed, His Word is living before it enters our hearts, but active once it does. There are 4 types of ground. As we know, 4 is the number of the material creation or world, as well as a foundation. So within this parable, we see that the whole world is subject to the divine principle of sowing and reaping. Jesus confirms this in Matthew 4:4, saying, "Man, that is all humankind, shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." In the good soil, we see those who bear fruit 30-fold and 60-fold and 100-fold. This speaks of the fruit of the Spirit, as well as the called and chosen and faithful, or little children, young men, and fathers. Add this to the 4 types of ground and you have 7, the number denoting fullness and manifestation. Now let me share with you a unique perspective that you may have never considered. Please keep in mind that this is just a theory, but it appears to make logical sense. Not only do the 4 types of ground relate to the heart of an individual, but they also correlate with 4 different ages. Here's a list to illustrate what I mean. The first age began with Adam and ended with Moses, aptly called the Age of Conscience, since the law of God had not yet been delivered to Moses in Israel. In Romans 5:13 and 14 we read, "For sin indeed was in the world before the law was given, but sin is not counted where there is no law. Yet death reigned from Adam to Moses." And why did death reign? Because it is the second stage of the principle of sowing and reaping, which is applicable to all ages. The ones along the path are those who hear and Satan immediately comes and takes away the word that is sown in them. This fits perfectly with the temptation story in Genesis chapter 3. The next age was the age of law, marked by the giving of the law to Moses and Israel at Mount Sinai. As we know, the law proceeded from the Old Covenant, symbolized by Abraham's wife, Hagar. The ones sown on rocky ground fall away due to the tribulation and persecution that arises because of the word. When contrasted with Israel in the wilderness in Hebrews 3:15 through 19, we have a match. The third age, which began with Christ and extends to this present time, is the age of grace. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. This is the age of thorns, where the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches and the desires for other things enter in and choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. When contrasted with our present time, this is quite accurate. And the coming age, the age of fruit or manifestation? Unlike the traditional and lukewarm display we see today, this will be a genuine presentation of God's redeeming power through the unconditional love of those who, as the parable states, hear the word and accept it and bear fruit. For the most part, we are not doing this today, for we have turned our ears from the truth and accepted fables or myths, which is make-believe. Remember, this is a theory, but as you can see, there's some sound reasoning here. I have mentioned before that time is marked by hours and days, while seasons consist of months and years, made up of hours and days. But what about ages? They consist of both, do they not? So could we not also speak of the ages as times and seasons? As you might guess, if we're too rigid about semantics, we'll miss the point. So what do we have? 4 ages or times and seasons? Or, putting it simply, 4 times. That being said, let me bring this to the following. But the woman was given the 2 wings of the great eagle, so that she might fly from the serpent into the wilderness, to the place where she is to be nourished for a time, and times, and half a time. Time, and times, and half a time. Note where I have numbered time as 1, while times would be 2. Together we have 3, which when added to half a time becomes 3.5. This perspective is confirmed by the fact that time and times and half a time is synonymous with the 42 months of Revelation 11:2 and 13:5, as well as the 1260 days of Revelation 12:6. 42 months is 3.5 years. Now let's apply this to the ages, where time is the age of conscience, times is the age of law, and the age of grace. And half a time? This is marked by the phenomenon of the flood, which would be why Jesus referred to the days of Noah. After all, of all the things that Jesus could have referenced, why the days of Noah? There are but 2 occasions where time and times and half a time are found. In the New Testament, it's Revelation 12:14. In the Old Testament, it is Daniel 7:25, and it's rendered dividing of time in the King James. Jesus said there are 12 hours in the day, which leaves 12 hours in the night. So, half a time is either day or night, not both. Remember our number 40 and 2? 40 denotes our wilderness journey, while 2 speaks of division and witness. With division, or a dividing of time in mind, consider the following. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Then 2 men will be in the field. One will be taken, and the other left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, and the other left. 2 men, perhaps the first and last Adam. One taken, the other left. Is this not a division, a separation of day from night, light from darkness, a dividing of time? 2 women, perhaps the 2 covenants, old and new. One taken, the other left, signifying a separation or division incurred through the covenants. The first Adam, who abides under the old covenant and law, is taken, while the last Adam, who abides under the new covenant and promise, is left. Included in his discourse on the days of Noah, Jesus spoke of the faithful and wise servant and the evil servant, stating that the master of that servant would cut him in two and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. Is this theory true? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But what remains is the present moment and our need to be and remain genuine.